everybody started something from the very beginning at some point.
Yeah.
Everybody, they might have had a leg up, they might have better equipment. That you can't change that. But at some point, everybody started one time. You know, same like your buddy didn't get great at Street Fighter just by picking it up the first time.
Yeah.
You know, he might have watched, he might have known some things, he might have done some research. That's different, but he had to start.
This episode is sponsored by Southern Utah Safe and Vault. It's one-stop shop, buy, education, delivery, everything you need with the safe or a vault door. Website is safesfirst.com. Their showroom is 1397 West, Sunset Boulevard, number 115 in St. George, Utah. Phone number is 435-767-7878. Hey guys, welcome back to the Derick Erik podcast. We are in the vault today. Full disclaimer, I've just starting to get my voice back. I lost my voice a little bit yesterday. Actually text Mallory and said, hey, I'm hoping I'm good for tomorrow because my voice is kind of gone. Luckily, I've got my wife at home, so she hooked me up to an IV and got me some medication, and I'm feeling a lot better today. So anyway, we episode 94. I'm actually excited about this one. I get excited when we have someone that is very new to the idea of or not to the idea, but being on a podcast, but the flow is there. And so we've kind of been talking for almost a half hour before the podcast, and we're just bang, 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 just bouncing off each other. So I'm excited for this one. And it's kind of, it's kind of like where I come from. I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude working it out, figuring life out. That's what the podcast is about. And so let me introduce our guest today. We've got Erik Pyper. How's it going, Erik?
It's going, man. How's it going with you?
Good. I'm excited for this, dude. Like you're sitting here saying like, I'm just a dude. I got nothing interesting about me. And I'm like, that's how I feel, dude.
Oh, I'm a schlub. Yeah, no, I'm a list of failures. So this is great.
Well, when we talked on the phone earlier today, when you said that, I'm like, perfect.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard, a while ago that a failure is sowing the seed to success. And so, I think we are hard on ourselves sometimes when we're not doing as well as we think we should, or we're not hitting kind of our max capabilities, but it really is just picking yourself up, learning from it, going again. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is, I listen to podcasts all the time. It's like that one meme, if you've seen it, where everybody's laughing and then there's the chair in the side of the corner that's like not really a part of the conversation. Like that's how I feel listening to podcasts. I'm like, I'm right there with you guys. We're laughing.
Well, that's what's cool about podcasts. Yeah. The medium of it is, and when I started this, I'm terrified of public speaking. Okay.
No way.
So this was kind of the medium for me, where I was like, okay, like I can come sit in a room with one person. I can do great with one person.
Yeah.
My thing when I get around a lot of people is I'll get like dry mouth and I forget to breathe. And so I'll start talking and talking and talking and talking. And then I'm like out of breath and I can't.
Oh yeah, that's a problem.
And so that's like my nervous tick of when I talk a lot is that I don't breathe.
Interesting.
And I've actually broke into that. I've talked about it on here I've talked in a few high schools, and I've loved it. Like I was the guy that would commit to speaking in church or commit to having, giving the presentation in school, and then I'd ditch that day.
That's hilarious.
Like I just couldn't do it.
So anybody that knows me is going to feel, they're going to really laugh at me when I say this, but I was the Utah State debate champion. In speech and debate 2002.
You told me that before we started.
No, you don't know. The state tournament was held here in St. George. My event was Student Congress, and I smoked the competition.
There you go.
So yeah, I'm a master debater.
All right. Now I'm nervous. Now I'm going to start getting out of breath.
Don't be, dude. The people that do speech and debate and everything against them, trust me, because like the people that do like impromptu or all that, there's a batch of people that are like really into speech and debate that are a little eclectic, to say the least. Talking to the wall, doing a monologue. Sure. I did it just kind of like get better at like riffing on people. I mean, we were watching Seinfeld all the time, so I want to just like get really sharp at doing good comebacks, and I wanted to evolve the your mom jokes into something a little bit more cutting.
Sure.
So that's
how you got into it.
Sir, I should have been a lawyer, I think, probably, but yeah. So yeah.
That's why podcast has been a great thing for me. And you asked me like, well, what do you get out of this? And Mallory kind of answered, and I'm like, nothing. Like,
Yeah.
but really it's the network. I mean, and like this, like I would never have known you if I didn't start
not at
this,
all.
right?
No, it's cool.
So the network that this has really put around me, and I've seen it help me in the last 2 years. I mean, people I can call on, people I can text, different ventures that people that have been on the podcast, not even for the venture that they ended up getting me into. Right.
Yeah.
So they bring a different thought process to me, and dude, I just get obsessed with things. So I just end up pushing forward.
Well, I think it's interesting because, you know, I think what happens, like I was saying to you, first, I think you are to be commended. You really are. People, they always armchair quarterback, and they can sit back and they can say, oh, you know, this podcast has this many views, or it's not successful based off of this or whatever. I think the mediums of what success means to people, Gary Vee says this all the time, like success to somebody that maybe wants to talk about and do, maybe they're really into fish tanks or they're really into lizards. And if they want to sit at home and make content around lizards all day long and make a modest income of $50,000 to $60,000 because they've grown a YouTube channel doing that thing, is going to be far more happy and satisfied than somebody who goes to work and hates it to make even a little bit more money. And so what I'd say to you is you keep putting out content. It keeps showing up in my feed. It's very polished. It looks really nice. And there's so much energy that goes into that. And I really do think it's awesome. I think it's cool that you've stuck with it, that you're staying with it. Everything has to grow from a starting point. And, you know, here you are, what, episode 94? You're slapping them down, dude. You just keep going, you know. And it's gonna be interesting. Maybe do something cool on episode 100, right? Do
I know
the
it's been brought up a couple times. What do you do for? You know, it's funny. The one that got brought up is what do you do for episode 69?
Yes, correct.
And what do you do for episode 100?
Yeah, 420's too out. We're not gonna think about that one right now.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I get it.
And yeah, and 100, dude. I don't know. I'm like, do we do something for it? You know, the one idea I had, and well, I guess we'll see if it happens. Yeah, Mallory's got ideas. I thought it might. I don't think it'll happen, but I thought it might be cool to have my brothers in here, and we do like a sibling episode. And I don't even know what we would talk about, but
it'd come out.
If there's anyone that I can talk to and bounce things off of and get on like completely deep rabbit holes, it's that. I mean, obviously, cool. I've known them my whole life, so.
No, you should do something that you want to do.
Yeah,
and that's what you should do for 100, right?
Yeah, I just don't think they'll come on.
Nah, tough.
I think
it's
that's
celebratory.
What it is.
You tell them, hey, this is a celebration of what I've been doing. You know, I've been working. I haven't asked anything of you. Come on, episode 100. That's where I want you.
If you're listening to this, check back in a couple months and let's see what we did.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, dude. So we'll kind of dive into a little bit. I know you like. I like how you put it. I've had a ton of failures.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably going to reference this a few times because it's on my mind. Over the weekend, I'm part of Arete Syndicate. If you know what that is.
Do not know.
So if you heard of Andy Frisella or Ed Mylett.
Bro, I'm so out of anything.
That's fine.
Like
so they put a coaching course on called Arete Syndicate. I'm part of it. They just did a live event in St. Louis. And so I was in St. Louis over the last weekend, and I've been to a couple of these like event things with speakers and high level people, and nothing like this. And it was one day. It was 6 hours. It wasn't even like multiple days. 6 hours. The venue was brand new. It was a cool venue. It was like a concert setting, but they had a stage where the speakers were. So that if you heard of David Goggins,
yes.
So David Goggins opened up the show.
He was just out there just yelling at all those fat people, being like, "What are you doing? You lazy." Right? And then he ran off the stage, ran on the stage, he went back. I don't know.
That's the joke we made. It's like after we were like, you know, we're going to get a post tomorrow from Goggins.
Oh, yeah. What are you doing?
Spoke at an event yesterday, still trying to run home 400 miles down.
That's pretty good.
You know?
That's pretty good, actually. Still running back. Yeah. What are you doing with your life?
Right. I've non-stopped. I've ducked, take my legs, and I've got broken knees, right? But yeah, so he came in and it was perfect. Like he hyped everyone. Like that's who he is. He's a starting hype guy, there, right? Yeah. So he comes out, he pumps everyone up. Andy comes out. Andy Frisella comes out. He's got multiple 7-figure businesses.
Wow.
He gave a lot of tactical stuff, business wise. And then it was lunch. Came back from lunch. Ed came out, talked about like the way I took it was like more of keys for what you can control with yourself and how that's going to lead to being successful and whatever your goals are. So it was cool. Like, hey, can you you need to put yourself in check. And dude, for me, it was like a fitness thing, like the whole thing. And it wasn't even you're fat, you need to go out and run. It wasn't that, but the whole, everything he was saying, I was like, okay, dude, I'm in control of a lot of my life. Like I'm hyper focused in a lot of things. Fitness has never been that important to me.
Well, join the club. Now, here we are. Is this turning into a fitness podcast now? Dave, are you listening?
Well, I don't know. You're the one that's got a Summit Athletic Club shirt on.
That's why I'm in town. Please don't judge. The fact that you say that's so interesting. So when you're doing the kind of stuff that you're doing, I can relate to this. This is something that's very relatable to me. When you are attacking a certain thing with that much energy, you kind of just disregard a lot of other things, in your life. You're like, I don't care about my fitness, my diet, that's on the back burner. Yeah, sleep, whatever. And it happens. It's not like, it's intentional, but sometimes it's not, it's a little sloppy.
It's just very, very low on my list.
Yeah. But it also is like, sometimes if you were to sit down and prioritize how hard it would actually be to put it on the list, then you start to be accountable and you're like, well, shoot, it's actually not that big of a deal. Because if I'm sitting there dinking off for 15, 20 minutes doing this, I could make a schedule and start setting a routine and form a habit to do that. So I understand. I've been doing that forever, man. It's tough. There are aspects of my life that are just glaring failures for sure. They're blind spots, but that's cool that you go to a conference and then you self-reflect and you come out of that with some ideas on how to improve.
So Ed said this when you said just a list of failures.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what, and Ed has said this before, but when he said it, it just like hit me, and I kind of thought about it for a minute. So one of his points was everyone thinks that it's what they achieve that allows them to help other people or to bring someone else up or, look in the rear view and pull them forward. And it's not the things that you achieve. It's the things it's your failures that you have gone through and built yourself up from that allows you to turn around and bring someone else. So it was, and he elaborated. He's a lot better speaker than I am.
No, you're doing good. So why do you think it is though? So why do you think a failure is more defining in terms of helping people than like a success would be?
Yeah. So he says, well, I mean, this is what I think. He said it. He said, the reason I'm able to help you is because I've been there before. I've been that guy. I don't think I'm better than you. I've just been there.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you were saying it's my list of failures, I'm like, good, dude. That means there's a list of people that you can help.
Bro, and so it's so funny. So when you look at something, you set out to execute this dream, or you set out to execute this business plan or this thing or this relationship or whatever it is, this marriage. And then you realize, man, in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have done this. Or this wasn't a bad move, could have improved here. And the thing I think it might be a midlife crisis that I'm going through right now. It's possible. I'm 39. But in reflecting like you did, coming off that conference, I have got to think about the glaring problems I have that are in my control in my own life. And as I've started to get real with that, I've started to realize that, and like David Goggins would be smacking me and giving me a wet kiss right now if he heard me saying this, but we are so full of excuses in our lives. And so, for me, I just started realizing my grandma used to always say something. She was in the military. She'd use flattery with me. I'd start to whine and bitch and moan, and she'd be like, Erik, you're young and good looking. You do it. And I'd be like, oh, thanks, Grandma. Okay. And then I'd do it. And then she'd talk me into it, right? A lot of times, with what we have and our problems in our life, the way I've just even super recently for me, within the last few months, I will sit down and I will compare what I can control, what I can't, what can I do today, what can I do today. And then I think the stress comes from not being able to execute something, maybe from people on your team, things that are outside of your control, stuff that you can't manage that's hard to, execute. And so you then have to start making and trimming the fat. Like I've had certain people that I've worked with or adjacent to that maybe weren't even working with, but I was sharing time with. We talk on the phone or maybe strategize. I'm like, I'm getting zero out of this right now. And the negativity there is impeding me from stopping with the excuses, getting out and going after it. I need to kind of cut that relationship.
Yeah.
It sucked at times because, like, on the whole, it seems like it's fine. But when I've started to go down those roads and just like the negativity or it doesn't feel like it's getting me where I want to go. Even if it's like, I drive past Maverick and I got that Tornado and I want to slam that thing, right? Or the Bahama Mom. Everybody wants to get that gas station hot dog and you think it's going to get you where you want, but sometimes it doesn't. You got to start to cut those little things out. And I think you start to make improvements. So very interesting. That sounds like a cool conference.
Oh, dude, it was the best thing I've ever.
Really?
I hadn't even touched. Ed had a speech at the end that was kind of based on urgency, I guess. And I wish that there was a way to just post that speech. I mean, I think anybody could benefit from listening to it.
Wow.
But I mean, it was great. The whole conference was great. And, I kind of thought like, I need to go to this. I need to get hyped again. I need to get energy in my business again. I need to get these things again. And hopefully there's some business tactic that I can bring out of it. And I have 2 notebooks. One of them's almost full. And then because I bought the other one thinking I would start a journal and then I would take notes with this other one. And now both of them are all marked up. So I probably combined, I probably have 1 notebook full of stuff.
That's at least you're doing that. Every time I've ever tried to journal or write that stuff down, I don't.
I'm 4 days in, so let's not get
it's like
too
a diet,
excited.
Right? Yeah.
I'll start tomorrow.
We'll see if it's habit forming, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying. Well, and I don't even understand journaling, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't either.
Like, so I just like write what I did that day. Like I just don't understand it.
Ask the nerds. I don't know.
And so that's what I
journalers. Honestly, I think in retrospect, I do look at certain things that my kids have said and done that day that I should have been notating.
Yes,
because you forget it. Your short term memory at the time, it's just this precious thing that in 2 years, 3 years, it's evaporated. And you're like, what was that thing that he used to call it? It wasn't spaghetti. Oh, it was biscotti. Yeah, that's
and
funny.
So like, what are you doing? Like going back and flipping through your books.
I know.
And
and it's interesting how much of that are you.
If you want to know what it is now, it's Instagram and Facebook.
It is.
I mean, Facebook will never go away because it's your memories.
You see, this thing is with me, I'm kind of that George Clooney meme where he's just creeping over the shrubs. I literally don't post anything on social media anymore. Well, and you're kind of inspiring me now because I feel like everybody, if they have a positive message, there's so much negativity.
Yeah.
Or if they're having these thoughts like you had on this conference. What's the harm in getting on there and talking about like a couple bullet points that you enjoyed?
Yeah.
I think people are just self-conscious that they don't want to look a certain way or sound foolish or.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like you're scared. And I was scared 25 years of my life.
So why now? Share it. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's why. So when you kind of gave some, at the beginning of this, I was thinking like what you're doing is so cool. It really is. There's not a lot of people that decide that they, you and I were talking kind of prior about some of the background, some of the reasons, some of the kind of seeding motivations that pushed you into doing something like this. And then your big term goals are just so wholesome. I mean, don't laugh and shrug it. It's so true. Like
it's my way of dealing with it.
But there's so much crap going on right now.
No, yeah.
And people focus on that so much. And I think that's the downfall of social media and I feel bad for these kids nowadays that have to navigate that constant negative barrage and they're not feeling that uplifted messaging because it's just kind of washing over them through this lens of consumerism. You need this or that, or this is cool and this isn't. I see the hair trends and the jeans and I see it happening to them, and I feel bad. But at the end of the day, it's like, what are you letting into your life? And like messages like this, you just keep putting it out. It's the one gal that was on a couple episodes ago. She was just saying you just never know who's watching and what kind of impact you're gonna have on their lives, and it's just like same with this. You never have any idea. It might strike just one person driving home, certain day, certain thing. So it's great. It's great, man. I love it. I really do. You're to be commended. You're pat on the back right there.
I mean, when we started the thing, that was really it. Like, hey, if we can help someone, great. It's worth it. And I mean, maybe 15, 20 episodes in, I started getting messages of like, hey man, love what you're doing. Da, 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 da. Yeah. And then I had a father who I know the father really well. He sent me this message about how it helped his daughter. and one of our episodes helped his daughter, and he was just grateful. And I was just kind of like, all right, dude, so that box is already checked.
Yeah.
We're 20 episodes in and we've checked that box already.
Wow.
And that's what the drive really is. And dude, like, I'm human, man. Like, there's days where I'm like, freak, man, I don't want to go do that. I'm tired. I've got a 2-year-old waiting for me at home. Like my wife's been working all day. I'd like to see her, and there's times where it's hard to, and we do this at my producer's house for people that don't know. She has a studio built into her house that we do it at. And so sometimes it's like, okay, I've already worked, 8 to 10, 12 hours. And then I'm going to go do a podcast for 2 more hours, right?
So, and you don't even know me or the guest or the background. You don't know where you're going to get into. You don't know where that's going. There's kind of some uneasiness. They say the best deals and the best transactions are those that make both parties a little uneasy. And so if you got somebody over here that's, I'm coming down on that price a little bit, I don't like it. Or this person's like, I got to do this, but I don't like it. Those are kind of generally the best handshakes. And, this is one of those. Like, I'm uneasy a little bit too. I don't know. I walk in here. This is kind of comfortable to you. I mean, luckily they got me the Mountain Dew to make me feel a little bit more at ease.
I got that.
Get a little white trash boy like me. Like, that's not, Joe Rogan to have some other paraphernalia out here.
Yeah. Well, we got the Mormon coffee.
Yeah. Right. But I mean, it's true. Like, I feel like, any growth that you're going to go through in your life is going to be an exposure to uncomfortable moments. And you're a kid riding a bike, you're doing stuff like public speaking, if you're breaking out and starting a new business, if you're trying something you've never done before, it's going to be, now, obviously, don't be dumb about it because you can get yourself injured or hurt or made.
Sure.
And that's the fear part that comes in for people like, oh, what if I fail? What if I... Some things, it just doesn't matter. Go. Like, what's the worst that could happen on a podcast that you run for 94 episodes? Heaven forbid it stops tomorrow. But let's say, what's the worst that would have happened, right? Nothing's bad. The mic's not going to zap you. You're not going to, get in financial ruin because of it. So a lot of times people just are so fearful to even just start.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, okay, you started it, but then you're 94 deep. That's where I think it's rad. You should keep it going now at this point.
I think mentally my goal was like every week for a year, right? And so we went that first year went that first year every single week. And after that, like I'm very good at setting like short-term mental goals. And that's my life, my business, my everything. But I'm not great at setting like that big unachievable goal, right? And so we go that first year and I'm like, okay, done, check, now what? And I'm like, so I guess we go 2 years now. And so I'm always trying to project that forward. And like, so when I set my goals up this year, first year I've ever actually written goals down. I've talked about it on here a few times. I think I've got 8 goals. I have it on my phone every Monday. Thing goes off on my phone to check and read through my goals. It's the same goals every week, but I just read through it. And one of the things that I wanted to do was get me out of my comfort zone.
Wow.
And like the podcast was that a couple of years ago. And then so public speaking was that this year. And I mean, as public as you want to call it, I'm in a room with like 20 high school kids, but
it's still pretty, if you have the, you have the floor and the attention's on you. That is public speaking. It doesn't matter what you're doing or where you're at.
So I have a list of books that I'm listening to or reading, right? And one of them, and I'm going to lose some credit here for saying this, but I haven't read Napoleon Hill. Gosh, now it's slipping my mind. Mal, what is it?
Outwitting the Devil?
Think or Grow.
Yeah, Think and
Grow Rich.
Yeah.
So let me say that again.
I don't even know what that book is, dude. Why do you feel bad?
Well, I'm in that space, bro.
I don't even know what that is, man. That's funny.
Yeah, the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich. He talks about that, and he said, and I know tons of quotes from this book, but I've never actually read the book. I have it on Audible now, so I'm going to listen to it. But he talks about the person that you're going to be after you go through a struggle or after you go through stress. You don't even know that person yet. And I think he calls it the other person. He refers to it like that. And so like I've done that, through my life and I didn't even know. So when he said that, it kind of hit me and I'm like, man, I am intentionally putting small things in front of me now to try and see who that person is.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's interesting. But I don't know that I necessarily want to intentionally challenge myself without the goal. And so I think what you're saying is the biggest key to that. What's the point? You know, if you don't have that goal, what's the point? And so I think a lot of the problem I had in the failures I had in my life is I was young, newly married, whatever. Like, what was the point? You know, where are you ending? But also,
do you think you need to know what the point is?
I think you need to know what your day is. Okay. So I'll give you an example.
Sure.
So this morning I had a ton of work to do. I hadn't seen my kid in a while. This has literally happened this morning. And we shared a bed last night because he's 4, didn't want to fall out. We're staying at a rental. And I was like, all right, sleep here. I'm going to stack some pillows around you. He's going to move sideways and walk off. He does all sorts of stuff. But anyways, he woke up and had slept in, not like him. He's up 6:30 and moving. And then was just sitting there. And I was like, I'm not going to work right now. I'm snuggling this little dude that I haven't seen in forever. I'm going to take this hour or whatever it should have been. That's the point. Like that day right there, that's the point. And I think sometimes people get so caught up in what their day-to-day is, and unfortunately they just miss that point. You know, they say, oh, date your spouse or do this or go out and, enjoy the whatever it is. Like your day should be enjoyable. So some of my failures were missing the point. It's not necessarily a goal. A goal helps because you have the overarching, what do I really want out of life? But at the end of the day, like, what does your day look like? Are you getting out of your life what you wanted that day? And if not, then you need to start trimming fat, making changes. That's I'm convinced. I've lived, like I said, I did it last couple years. It was miserable, making pretty decent money, whatever, failing a little bit, not succeeding in other things, like trying to like figure out where to go post-pandemic, and out of it, it's just clear as day. Is like, man, you're at the halfway mark. If I'm approaching 40, you better get out of the rest of your life whatever you want out of your life. Obviously, you got to be a responsible father. Obviously, you should be a good husband. Obviously, you should, take care of people, do good in the community. That's kind of like pillars that make you a good overall person. But your day-to-day, man, you do what you want to do, what floats your boat. If you're paying bills, doesn't matter. Do what you want now. The bills are paid, cool. I don't know. Maybe that's not how it should be.
I feel like I'm on your podcast.
No, not at all. I'm saying, like, that's what happens when you have like this existential crisis from working in corporate America for 2 solid years. You're like, no, I won't do this. I'm 1 in 1,400 in a sales team that it never will change. Like my dad always says, is corporate sales is like wiping your nose with a hula hoop. It will never end. And next week's the same as last week. It'll never stop. They're always pushing that thing down the road, and you got to sell. And for me, I'm like, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
A check's a check, but And I was finding that the relationships I was having from a business to business were the only thing keeping me going. It wasn't even the check. There wasn't even accommodation. Like if I'm the top sales rep in the state, nobody cares. What are you next month? Where's the quota? Where's the goal? It's always bumping and moving and shifting. And so I was like, I'm secretly extroverted in the fact that I like people, but I don't like people. It's weird. I think it's most people. Yeah. If you deal with customers, you're like, customers are great. They pay the bills. But we're all that, right? I really do like genuinely to hear other people's like stories or what got you to this point in your life.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man.
That was driving me in my business. So the only reason I wanted to keep doing sales was this weird itch to find out, like, meet people like you and kind of peel back some of the layers. Like, how did you get to this point right now? Oh, it's so cool. And it's genuine now. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old and sentimental.
Well, traditionally, I would say that I'm an introvert, and which, like, if you look at my day-to-day life, no one would assume that. Like, I have a retail store where I'm talking to customers every day. One of our businesses is like we're basically letter carriers, like we're mailmen, so I'm talking to people all the time when they come and get their mail. It's common to, some of those guys, I think that's what they live for, is to stop you at the mailbox and talk to you. Everything I do would make you think that I'm like life of the party out in front of everybody. And anyone that really knows me knows I'm not that. And I don't know, dude. Sometimes I'm like, I kind of want to be that. But well, like this event I just went to, right? So I'm the sit in the corner. I'm weird. I don't want to have. I'm nervous to have a conversation. You get me talking, I won't shut up.
Yeah.
But like that initial ice break, man, I've just never been good at that. And so I was texting so they did an event it wasn't part of the event, but a group of people were going to Topgolf before. Okay. And so shout out Topgolf. I've never done that before. It was kind of fun. So we go to Topgolf and I'm texting my wife and I'm like, I'm pretty nervous. Like, I don't really want to do this. You know, like I thought this would be fun, kind of network a little bit. And this is people around the nation, right? And we're in St. Louis doing this. We're in Utah right now. I live in Utah, right?
Easy.
And so we're states away already. And I know nobody. I went with no one. I know nobody.
So you went solo?
Oh yeah. I didn't know a person there.
Bro, you got brass balls, man. Look at this guy. Look at Derick Leg over here, dude. Flies to St. Louis solo. Just because he wants some inspiration.
And
wow.
But so I'm sitting in, they take us to like the upper deck, Topgolf. I'm standing up there. They've got tables set up. And I swear every single person there knew someone, right? Like that's the way it looked through my eyes. And I'm texting my wife and I'm like, this was a bad idea. Like I shouldn't have done this. I said, I think exactly what I said was, I look like the ugly middle school girl at the dance, you know, like I'm just sitting in the corner, nobody's talking to me.
Oh, well, I know that. I know the ugly middle school boy. That was me. maybe girl. I don't know. Well, yeah, I can relate.
And I was just sitting there like, I feel so stupid. And like people are kind of looking at me and doing their own thing. And I'm like, obviously, like I don't know anyone. And so I ended up just kind of walking down and there was no empty seats. And so I was kind of walking past all these tables and there was 100 and something people that was with our group at the event. And I ended up seeing a table with like 2 empty chairs. And there was 3 guys and a girl all just talking to each other. And I walked up and I was just like, so I don't really know how this works. Like, is that seat open? Are you guys saving it? And the girl turns around, Lauren was her name. She turns around and she's like, no, that one's open. And so I was like, cool. So I like went and sat down. I kind of sat there for a minute and then they were all talking and I'm just like, okay, and I'm like across the table. I'm not even next to them. I'm just like, man, this is cool, you know? And they ended up finally turning around and started talking to me. Well, not finally. I mean, they were doing
they wrapped on their conversation.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they started getting me included and the rest of the event, like, so the next day, at lunch the next day, at dinner the next day, the whole time I just rolled with them.
Wow.
And it was awesome. Like,
yeah.
So it was 2 guys from Louisiana. Like I said, Lauren, she was from North Carolina. And then Jimmy was from North Carolina. And I'm just, and they didn't, well, the 2 guys from Louisiana, Carter and Thomas, they came together. They're buddies. And then the other 2, I think they met at the airport, but I don't think they knew each other.
Wow.
But anyway, so I'm sitting there thinking like, again, like your comfort zone, pushing yourself thing, right? Like I was terrified. I'm texting my wife, like, this is stupid. Like I just want to go back to the hotel. You know?
So did you join a cult then? Is this way you went to this event? People got weird masks on. No, oh man, something so interesting. I at every step that I've ever tried anything the first time, you always have that inadequacy. You're like, oh man, I shouldn't be doing this. What am I doing? What have I got myself into? Why am I here? Everything. I went to Boys State one year in Utah. Nobody cares. This is like a dumb thing. I felt that. Scout camp, same thing. Everybody. I think it's just a natural thing. You feel that as you start to evolve and change. Man, one of the best that I can think of was when I started doing archery. And I don't do it a lot now. Again, one of those things I haven't, but loved it. Only thing I ever killed with a bow has been a javelina. Did it while I was at grad school. But when I first started, your muscles aren't trained. And I remember just kind of like shaking and pulling that back and like being just so awkward. And I don't have the best upper body strength anyways. But for me to try it and then feel like everybody else is 10 ringing and they're in there sighting it. Maybe they've been shooting for how many years? And then it gets in your head and you start to think, well, like, dude, these guys, look at that bow. Look at that setup. Look at that kit. Look at this guy. Look at, he's strutting around or she's strutting around like they own the place. And you have that imposter syndrome. And it's very real. But this is something that I honestly, this is why if anything comes out of this, just everybody, if you're listening or whatever, remember this, that everybody started something from the very beginning at some point.
Yeah.
Everybody, they might have had a leg up, they might have better equipment. That you can't change that. But at some point, everybody started one time. You know, same like your buddy didn't get great at Street Fighter just by picking it up the first time.
Yeah.
You know, he might have watched, he might have known some things, he might have done some research. That's different, but he had to start. You know, same thing with Bo. You had to start at some point. And like what you win, you know, that icebreaker going, you had to start at some point. And then the rest of the event was awesome. It blossomed, it bloomed for you, and you have good experiences from it. So that's cool. But sometimes you get in your head and you're like, you know, blah, blah, blah. Now for me, I'm like, well, I'll stumble through this. I don't care, man. I'll fail. I got to start somewhere, you know?
Well, when I went, my mindset was, and I should have mentioned this, my mindset was nobody here knows me. I can be whoever I want.
Oh, wow.
Right?
So
like
you
I
did
could be
join a
Brad
cult.
Pitt's brother.
Yeah, you wanted the
You know what I'm
mask and
saying?
everything. Oh, yeah, all right.
So I'm
Did you
like-
have a fake ID on you the whole time, man?
But that was and I even told my wife that. I'm like, I'm kind of excited because I've done these things, but I've always done them with friends or someone I know or someone that's seen me on a podcast or a business partner or whatever. And going into this, like I said, I was solo. And so I'm like, I can be anybody I want. And so
Wow.
I knew that I would like cave and be like, oh, I'm an introvert. I'm going to sit in the corner. It's okay. Nobody needs to talk to me. I knew I was going to end up being that guy. So I was trying to go into it. I can be anybody I want.
I bet you're not disclaiming this now, but I bet you had a Southern accent when you were talking with those people on that table, didn't you?
No, dude.
You didn't? Oh, yeah.
They were from the South.
I know. That's
so
what
I
I'm
wasn't
saying.
doing
You
that.
probably joined right. I slipped right in with that Southern accent.
You want to know a funny story
Yeah.
about that? I'll tell this story. They were talking about someone else, and they were saying, yeah, this person that kind of hung around with them last time, that she had a podcast and she had done short-term rentals, and they were all just kind of like, no one knew who she was, and they were kind of just referencing this person. Well, dude, I've got a podcast and I just bought a short-term rental. And so I'm like,
Was it me?
and so I was like terrified to even say any of that, right? And so I was kind of, they're all talking, oh, so what do you do? What do you do for work? And I'm like, oh, I just have a little, gun safe store.
Oh, dude, stop.
And-
You missed the
and
best
I
opportunity
know,
to
dude.
just
Well,
instantly.
So I kind of like preferenced it like, oh, I'm just, I have this little thing. Hopefully everything works out. And they kept talking and kept talking. And then they, Andy and Ed that ran the event, they both have podcasts. So it kind of got brought up a few times. And then they were like, well, what do you think? Anyway, it was just talking about podcasts. And finally I was like, all right, guys, I gotta come clean. They're like, what? I'm like, I have a podcast. And when you brought up your person you're referencing earlier, I have short-term rentals too. and Noah, one of the girls, turns around to me and she's like, it is 2023. Are you the person from last year, the last event?
That's hilarious, man. That's funny.
And I was like, no. And I was like, I felt so weird. So when you bring up that imposter syndrome, I look back and I think no one knew me. I can already feel my voice is starting to go. So no one knew me. I could be anybody I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
But really, like statistics, the back of my baseball card, right? Like we did $700K last year in revenue in our businesses. I have a podcast that we've almost hit for 2 years. I've been married 10 years to the love of my life and a great relationship. I have tons of friends. I have mentors. I have people that look at me and are like, look what he's doing. So I'm like, man, I should have been that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I get in that room, I'm like, oh, dude, I'm so nervous to be, and not even saying that like I'm better than any of those people or they're better than me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I should have stood a little taller and went in with a little more confidence, but it's just not my nature to do that.
I also think though that the world needs people like you that are the unassuming types that should be heard and aren't. My grandfather was like that. He didn't speak often, very quiet man, but when he did, just the words, might as well have been the thunder.
Sure.
Could have been him just ordering KFC, but like straight, like he just, and so I think sometimes like, there's artists and there's creative people and there's people like you that, have these ideas and you're trying to execute on those ideas. And you don't have to, in my mind, wear the symbols of an entrepreneur, the symbols of a businessman or woman, to be respected in that space. It's just time with people. You know, because the number one thing for me that is like, if you're a good businessman or woman, is if you're genuine and honest. And if you're neither of those, I don't want to talk to you. You're not the kind of business I want to be around. That's always been the case for me. Like if you're a genuine person, even if you're a weirdo, if you're outlandish, if I know what you are, then I can kind of judge what that is. If you're genuine in the way that you are, don't try to paint it different. You know, that'd be my counsel. But I'm at the end of the day, I'm not saying, you know, because you can tell the people that are wearing it.
Yeah,
They're wearing that suit. You know, so no, let your accolades speak for themselves, dude. The people that need to know.
Yeah.
So well, I think it's rad. Yeah.
And like at this point, I think they all followed the podcast and they're on the social
that's
media
rad.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So like
shout out to those people, right?
Yeah, it ended up really cool. Like it ended
that's
up,
rad.
And again, dude, I like how we started this. I'm just a dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just a bro from Southern Utah that happened to start a few businesses that failed, and I ended up starting just that one more and just that one more and just that one more. And you know, luckily I've always had income. I've always had a job, you know, thus far I'm 34. So check me in a couple of years. That led to being able to fund a podcast.
I love it.
That's all it is.
Yeah, dude, that's me. Like I'm not this wealthy person. I tell everybody I'm broke because I am. You know, I don't have all this income, wealth. I don't, but I'm not judging my success on that. I never will again. It's the craziest thing. After leaving, I think everybody needs to go work a dead end corporate job for like a year and really.
Most people do.
Oh, dude,
they just don't leave it.
No. I'm not saying leave in droves because we don't need everybody crowding the space. But you know, you come out the other side and you're just like, man, that machine that is, and the way that you view your days and your Monday hits and your email inbox and the way that you frame your days of living, it's brutal. You know, and so there are ways, and I think that's, you know, Gary Vee talks about that all the time. He's like, it's not silent quitting. It's options. If somebody wants to stay at home, like I said, make content and, you know, talk about pizza boxes over the years, they can do that.
Right.
You
if
know,
you're passionate about butterflies, do it.
Exactly. And, you know, to an extent, you have expectations. As the older you get and the more responsibilities you bring on, those windows start to shrink for you. But within your means and your reason, you know, you should pursue all that stuff. That's why I love what you're doing here. It's great.
Yeah. So when you start your podcast,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, that's what's fun about this, man. Is anybody can come, anyone can sit. I mean, we've had the number one question I get: what's your podcast about? It's the hardest question for me to answer because I finally just started saying like people.
Life.
Yeah, it's just about people that come on. We talk about them, and or I've been saying like it's really just a platform for other people to come on and tell their stories.
Yeah, I view this is what I'll say. This is what I'll say. As I've been watching clips and I've been watching things, I think you're trying to get to the genuine heart of what is driving people, like their goal, even yourself. What's the core of or what? Not even this. There's just the motivation, but the one gal you had on that was doing the boudoir stuff, like her motives and her guiding purpose is great. How cool is that?
I know, dude.
That interview would have made me a little uncomfortable, personally, as a married man.
So
because I there may or may not be some boudoir photos of my wife somewhere floating around. So she did that at one time, and I remember thinking, what in the world, you know? But then as to hear her explain it,
I know.
I'm like, wow. As men, we don't really deal with those confidence issues. We don't deal with that kind of stuff on average. And if it was your daughter...
Dude, it was kind of eye-opening for me.
I bet.
So I know Casey. I've known Casey.
Cool.
Her and my brother dated when he was in high school. I may have been in middle school. It's like I've known her. I haven't talked to her since then, but I'm aware of who she is, right? I know the family. I know her family. And so when she had reached out and said, hey, if you'd be open, I'd be on your podcast. And I'm pretty sure she's followed the podcast for a while. And so I was like, yeah, let's bring her on. And it's one of those things, right? Where I'm like, I don't know where this is going to go.
Yeah.
And she even came in, right, when she sat down, she's like, this is going to be interesting to see what a male has to say about this, you know, because she's like, I've never talked to a guy about this other than my husband. And so I really enjoyed it, to be honest.
I would agree. That was a good one.
Yeah, I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know if it was going to get uncomfortable. But it was her.
Yeah.
Like
Genuine. Yeah.
Where she came at it at the angle of the response I get from these women make it worth it. I mean, that's where I was like, oh, okay, well, this is a totally different thought process than any guy would have.
Yeah, totally not. Yeah, guys are
right.
Sorry, but it just goes. Your mind goes there.
Well, and that's what I asked her. I'm like, is this start by like the husband wants the wife to do it, and then it turns into the wife, loving it?
Yeah,
and she's like, yeah, that happens. Sometimes women just come because they, want a confidence boost.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I don't know, dude. It was great. So, and that's the cool thing, man, is we've had so many different walks of life on, and that was the point, dude. That's the cool thing about this is 94 episodes in on this one. That was the whole point.
You're hitting it. No, I get it. When we say what's the point of the podcast, it's if I want to get to what is genuine about people.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good one. You don't have to earmark that. But, that could be one of those things where I think that as I'm listening to it, I'm like, that's cool. Because other times you can see in the industry where they're like, oh, this guy, it's almost like if an author or a star is promoting some kind of content, they'll go on and they'll make the rounds on those shows, or they'll make the rounds as a comedian, or they do that stuff. And where you don't have that, you have people that are more relatable, that aren't going on with pre-scripted, little monologues that they're kind of like, shooting it on the couch. Yeah, exactly. I got this coming out next week. I'm not promoting anything here. Right. I don't have good social media. I don't have a website I'm proud of.
If you want to go follow me, there's probably something from 2 years ago.
Exactly. There's nothing on here I'm promoting. But I genuinely, like, I feel like people need to wake up a little, and they need to do things that make them feel that genuine connect. Like her, like you don't care if there's a net profit loss. You're doing this for your motives. Her business is going to be there doing that. The stuff that I'm doing now, it's because I like to meet people and I like to uncover what they're doing, but I also like the Rubik's Cube and the puzzle that is solving problems in the business world. I'm not great at it. But I get feedback where people like the experience. I've never had a single dealing with an employee, with a vendor, with an account associate, with a rep, with a company that has not liked my work.
Yeah.
That's probably because how I was raised. My dad, we grew up in coal mining country there in Emery County, and just the people that live there, I've looked at all of them now. All the work ethic that came out of there's the best export to come out of these small communities. Is you breed these young children that become adults, and they go out into the world, and they're doing amazing stuff. It's sad in a lot of ways, but they have to. You can't sit there. Not everyone can be a coal miner. Not everyone can work at the power plant. You can't just keep agriculture there forever. Some of these people go on to be engineers, or they go on to be pharmacists. And so you have these people that go out, and then I've been looking at it even in retrospect. I'm like, man, I don't know a lot of people that came out of these type of communities. Same with my wife, that come out of these smaller rural communities that just aren't awesome at what they're doing. They're just good people working hard. They're trying to do right in their community, like exactly what you're doing here right now. And so again, nothing to promote. I think you keep bringing people on that have real cool, genuine stories, and then you never know when that message is going to hit somebody, when they're going to hear it. They're going to be in their car, and they're going to be like working that corporate job. I don't know what it is or what they're doing. They're going to be like, what, I should maybe try this.
Yeah.
You don't just quit, but you start it on the side. We were talking about that before. That post-pandemic, I will never put all my eggs in one basket again. I always got plates that I'm spinning, even like this job that I came down here to do for the local gym. They got a new flagship gym that they're launching. It's all brand new, state-of-the-art. The facility is amazing. It really is. It's not a plug for them. It's just more or less the facilities they're putting here are pretty good.
I'm assuming we can say what it is.
Yeah, the Summit Athletic Club.
The new one on Sunset.
Yep, new one. Exactly. You've seen it. It is. They did not hold bars. Every machine, it's nuts. They were showing me like the yoga room that they have where, and I'm not going to talk about how much their little steamer costs, but you want to get that thing to clammy, hot yoga, right quick. You can turn that thing up, dude, and it just feels like you're in the Amazon. You know, somebody's yelling at you, telling you, I don't know, the yoga's probably more low key and calm. It's the spin studio where the guys, you got Dave Goggins down there, just yelling at you.
The yoga's more malleable.
Yoga's more cool. They're just sweating it out. But all the facilities is super cool. And so, you know, I had an opportunity to come down here. This isn't a business that I'm running a lot of. It's more like an opportunistic thing, but it's one of those things that I was going to do, or that I always have kind of in the back burner. And if those opportunities arise, that I could do it. And I would make that suggestion and recommendation to anybody that you should not just be spinning one plate, working at one business, because wait 2 quarters, wait till you get a new president, or wait till new policy gets released. I don't even care if you're working in the medical field.
New boss.
Something. Exactly. Or you have a life change, or an instance where you can't work those kind of hours. You should always have something, I feel, that you can kind of spin up if you need to.
Well, I think that's new thinking. Like the old thinking is get a job, work it for 35, 40 years, retire, right?
Collect a pension. Yeah.
I think I think you and I, like, that stuff's just not super realistic, having retire or a pension.
They don't even. They don't offer pensions. They don't offer pensions anymore. Really, most companies don't. Any kind of retirement you're going to get through 401k.
Yep.
And that's just kind of a match thing. There's none of that.
And so I think our thought that's always been my thought. Like, so my wife and I counted them the other day. I think we're up to like 8 different streams of income.
Wow.
But right now we're having it feels about 14 streams of outgoing is what it feels like right now.
You're hemorrhaging. Yeah.
But I mean, and that's what's crazy though, is the more, you know, when we had 3 incomes, then all of a sudden now we have 4 outgoings, then we'd have 4 incomes, and we have 5 outgoings. Like, that's how it's felt like it's had to grow. And right now is like the most financially locked down we've ever been, trying to get this new rental up and going. And I mean, really, it's kicking our butts, to be honest.
But you're capable. You know that you're working for it. You have the perspective to see it through.
Well, I told my wife yesterday or the day before, we were talking about all of this, right? And I told her, I said, you know what? You want to know what would be the most beneficial financial thing for you? She's like, what? I'm like, if I died.
Life insurance?
Because if I died, you cash out my life insurance, and then you turn around and sell all the stupid shit that I bought that I'm trying to make money on.
Oh, dude, you better start watching out. I watch Snap, Lifetime Movie Network.
I'm putting it on here, dude. So now there's proof,
gotcha.
Right?
Yeah, Epstein. I did not kill myself. I'm a sane person. I am not suicidal.
Well, and then I was like, and then
it's probably the same for me, actually.
I was like, you're a trifecta of income, because the third one is I'm not spending all your money.
Yeah, exactly. Income, outgo, both improvements.
Well, that's like, I feel like, and Amanda and I, we've always been growing and growing and growing and growing, both of us, in everything we've done. And we've never hit like a plateau. And a lot of that's because most of the income that we're bringing in is going out just as fast, trying to grow the next thing. And I don't know if that's the best way to do it or not.
Hey, dude, you're the Donald J. Trump of St. George.
No,
you're just rolling it.
No.
Give me an impression. You can't do an impression.
I'm not that.
Yeah, but that's how. So unfortunately, this is how business works. So, and you hear this all the time. You know, what's his name? Is it Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy?
Yep.
They always tell you have to make a GDP. Musk even said the other day, the economy just doesn't go. You have to produce a thing. And sometimes you have to get capital or debt or a loan or something to produce that thing. It doesn't just magically happen. So sometimes you have to take investments, and you have to take things that they're doing it with this gym. They have investments, partners, and I'm not their local, I'm not a spokesperson. I just got this t-shirt because I'm broke and I like free stuff. And I'm doing a job for them. I'm a subcontractor. But the way that they're doing it is the same way. They have investors, they have a group, they have a business model, they have a plan. The stuff that they're making there is unique. It's different. Kids zone, the sauna stuff in the rooms, the way it's split, like it's their flagship in Southern Utah. And there's a reason that they invested in that. They got to a point, they said, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. You're in the same position. That first little bit, everybody, doesn't matter how rich, poor, doesn't matter. that first little bit before you launch, it's just bill after bill after bill. We don't have customers. What are we doing? We just bought the short-term rental. I'm pretty sure you're like, when are we going to get tenants? What's going
Dude, we're
on?
6 months floating it. We just barely got it live.
Yeah, see, there you go. So you're feeling that, but a year from now, when you're hitting 10 whatever it is, or 130, you're going to be looking at it and being like, oh, wow, that was awesome that we rode that storm.
I hope
well,
so,
worst case,
dude.
what happens? You sell it. Yeah. See, that's the thing I always talk about now. Like, what's the worst that could happen? They can't eat you. The bank's not going to come for your kids. You know, you didn't sign a kid over. Like, what's the worst that could happen? I think it's awesome. Do it. Go after it. You know, but do it within reason. You had the means and you're still being responsible and you got all your other obligations that you're meeting and you're doing it.
Yeah.
Good on you, man. I think it's cool. I hope it goes great.
Another thing that Ed Mylett talked about at this conference is and I'll just paraphrase this because he spent a lot of time hammering it home, but like what heaven is to him and what hell is to him after we die, right? And he's Christian. He is super religious and he's upfront about it. He talks about his religion all the time. But he talks about like the person that he sees when he dies. He wants to get up there and say, man, I've been chasing you. Hey, Ed, I've been chasing you my entire life, man. You know, I did this and I did this and I thought, but I kept going and I kept going. And look, man, we're the same person now. And he says that's heaven to him. And then he says hell is, you die and you get up there and you're like, oh man, I remember you. You're that guy I was chasing back then. And I was doing real good. And then he like turns and then he's like the guy in heaven, right? And he's like, yeah, dude, but you remember you
gave up.
You changed right there, and that kind of broke you down. And then he flips back to the other guy and he says, yeah, well, the economy and the government and
excuses,
and it just, it got me in. And then he flips back to the other guy and he says, yeah, I, you were chasing me in the beginning, but I don't recognize you.
Dang.
Yeah, dude. And I was like, oh my gosh, it hit me like, then he flips back at the end and he goes back to the guy that is unrecognizable. And he says, to be honest, I lived a life of fear and I was scared a lot of the time and I was nervous to move forward. Oof. And I was like, dude, that, like I said, I've lived scared till I was 20, in my mid 20s. I lived scared. I lived conservative. I didn't want to take a risk. I didn't want to do any of that. Didn't want to blow up my credit score. Didn't want to have to empty the safe of the cash, right? Like everything I had was so tight because I didn't want to fail. I grew up with my parents being like in a financial struggle my entire life. The last thing I wanted to do was that. And then I quickly realized that, well, so what? You're just going to sit here on this, this plateau and just be this person?
Listen, for some people,
right,
that's their heaven.
Right.
For some people, that's their hell. I get it where you're coming from.
I'm not that
entrepreneurially. You're wanting to see that next horizon.
Exactly.
You got that American spirit and that drive. I have not had that until recently. It's been the weirdest thing. I've been in business, but probably shouldn't have been. I've been a business owner, but didn't have that kind of competitive, hunger. And it wasn't even, I think it was the more or less like the purpose of what's my reason. What's my drive? If that guy, you said Ed's his name?
Ed Mylett.
Yeah, okay. He wants to be this competitive individual against himself, and he's running a race against himself, and he's just like, on Mario Kart. He's got that ghost that he's always chasing, right? And he wants to just shave as much as he can. He wants to improve at every lap, and he wants to just, next quarter is going to be better than last, and next year is going to be better than last. And I get that mentality. I do. But I also... I probably more resonate, unfortunately, with the, my father who would walk off a job just to go elk hunting every fall. He would quit. And, that's the life he was living because he's like, this is life to me. Whatever it was that was, he would just disappear for the fall and he'd walk off jobs, leaving his family and this and that. He wasn't worried about the income. I'll make it, but this is one fall I'll never get back. And so there are things in your life, I think, this is just me personally, that you need to stop and not smell the roses, but you need to stop and take an account of how many more of those do you have?
Sure. Like waking up with your
you nailed it, dude.
I know. it's been the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my life. Is work's always come easy to me. I'll work hard. I'll outwork anyone. And it's funny, dude, because like you were saying, you can tell the people that are just wearing that and the people that are actually doing it. I've always felt like in my soul that I would outwork anyone. You're not going to beat me because I'll outwork you. And then once you kind of get past that and you get a little higher level than that, it's like, yeah, dude, but that ain't enough. Like
never will be.
And some of it's like you don't even have to outwork as far as like being busy, outwork me. There's other things that are going to come into this, right? But damn, dude, I think I lost my train of thought.
No. In terms of what you're saying, like the moments, like with my kid.
Yeah. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do when we had our son. Is like I had to start shaving that stuff off, right? And I'm full throttle. Like this is Andy's thing, and I love saying he said, I don't even drink alcohol, but he's like, I'm full throttle or no champagne bottle. So like,
that's pretty good.
And I'm like, dude, that's been my life in business. And then having William, and I've been very open. I mean, 3 years ago, I didn't even want a kid. I thought Amanda and I and dude, money's been my goal. My life's been driven by money. I mean, I'll admit it. And so Amanda and I were doing well financially before we started. We were married 8 years before we had a kid. And I thought, man, like, what are we doing? Like, we're pretty happy. We can go do whatever we want. We have freedom. We have all this stuff. If you, like, Amanda traveled a lot. Like, you want a freaking jet to Mexico next week? You can do that. If you want to go to, like, she went to Vietnam for like a week because her brother was there, And so like, and she could do that. And now it's like, well, we kind of have a 2-year-old at home, right? And so, and thanks to Amanda for being extremely patient with me on all of it. And I'm still not all the way there. I'm still working on it. But for her to put in the time, put in the hours, do everything that she was doing to allow me to figure out how to taper off, 12, 14-hour days. And now, I mean, so he's 2.5. Now, like, it like hurts me not to get home before he goes to bed.
And I'm sorry to keep you this evening on this podcast.
No.
And I understand what that is. When I was away from my family for a month and I was working, I was doing that. I have a suggestion for you. Okay. My buddy said this the other day, and he's got 5 kids. He's got the best work-life balance of anyone I've ever met. He's got a handful of jobs. He goes to work early. He's active in his community. He's got church callings. He's just the best work balance. I take a lot more cues from this man than he realizes. And he said to me, when our kids do cool things now and they see that it's unique and different, my oldest daughter or my second oldest daughter will look at me now and is like, Dad, that's a core memory. And so my suggestion is to make core memories, keep killing, keep going, keep working. Take those times where you zhuzh it up, you make it a little bit nicer, and you go make that core memory with your family. Whatever it is, like ours is this trip to St. George. To be honest, it really is. Like our kids, we're letting them play Nintendo, eat ice cream, stay up late. I mean, they're living their best life. And I promise they are going to hit me up like it's the Ring. Like Bilbo, do you have that ring? Are we going to go back to St. George that one day and hit that ice cream at 10 o'clock at night and be super naughty and play Minecraft till our eyes want to bleed?
But they'll remember that.
It's core memory, dude. And so, because I told my wife, like yesterday, she was thinking dinner was a core memory, and she's like, you're stressed. I'm like, oh, obviously. I want to go kill. Like, my whole thing right now is to go just kill a good one, drag it back, let you skin it up and go right back to doing it again tomorrow. Like, that's what I want to do. And I get that drive. So I relate to that. I do. Like, and I've gotten a little bit, my fangs, I think, have grown a little bit in terms of the last few months about me being that active.
Yeah.
And that more business invested. But then when my buddy said that, he was just like, I was just like, boom, that was it for me. It's like, you don't have to feel guilt for doing the day-to-day stuff. You don't have to feel guilt if you missed breakfast or you weren't there for this or that. That's not it. I think if you're there for those core memories, because it's proof in my life. I reflected and I was like, well, my dad would take me hunting. Here in Utah, you get Uhia, it lines up with the deer hunt, and everybody just takes it off. You know, it's the educational week.
Break.
Yeah, it's fall break, dude. You're going hunting. So everybody just gets out their oars, they go out, and I remember when my dad would take me out there, it was just core memories, just nothing but core memories. Eating junk food, sitting around a fire. He was working or doing different things, but I always remember those moments with him.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
It's funny because I actually had this conversation today with Tyson Coford. He's been on here a couple times. He does some of my marketing stuff for the Safe Store. And when we got talking about that, he was saying, dude, I'm going to butcher how he said it. It was basically, I'm having all these memories with my 2-year-old son that he'll never remember.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it was like, how do you hammer? It's like, I don't know. It's a weird thing to think about, right?
It is, but
I don't know how to put it into words.
You're right. It's a philosophical conundrum because in one way you're thinking, it's like when I see parents that take their kids to Disneyland when they're 3, right? I'll give you an example that I have. So my son, they have these Home Depot weekends. The first Saturday of every month, you go to Home Depot, you get a little kid apron, you go and do a little project with them, right? And they're just slamming your fingers and crying and painting. And it's a miserable experience for everybody. The kids, nobody likes it. The employees are hating it. Everybody's banging hammers all over the place. Nobody's happy, right? Until they are, and they have this like slaughtered project that they take home. But then they get this little badge, and they get a little pin, and then they get more. And my son, he's like 30 badges. And I was like, see this, son? I'm not a deadbeat dad. You don't remember any of these projects, but every one of these was me being a part of your life. And so sometimes you're right. Like you are going to have elements of when, you're maybe just the kid's going to not even know it all, won't remember, it's just forget, it's gone. See you, bye. It's not memorable. It's not a core memory, but also sometimes you do need those like sustaining things or the markers that are showcasing to your family that you're around enough. Like,
Well, I couldn't wait to come home. And like the first year I was like, I need a day, like we have a little camp spot up on Cedar Mountain,
cool.
Duck Creek, if people know where we are. And it's just mountain property. We're in the desert, right? So it's mountain property, a little different scenery. And I love it. I mean, I love Duck Creek. And there was one time, because I'm not very tactical about how I deliver things sometimes to my wife, because I'm just very straight lined and I don't think about how she's going to accept it. Not even accept it, but just how I'm being a dick delivering it.
How she hears it, right? Say it. Perceived.
And it was something like, well, I want to go up there. Like, I think I said, let's go. I'm going to go up there. And she's like, hey, let's go. What do you want to do? And I'm like, no, I'm going to go up there alone.
Yeah.
It was something like that. And I wasn't very good at delivering it. And like, it hurt her feelings. But I was like, back then, I'm like, I needed a day. Like, I just couldn't do it.
Oh, I get it.
And now I was gone for 2.5 days, dude. I couldn't wait to get home. And then my wife was, I don't know if it was planned this way. I mean, she was actually driving home from camping when I was flying home from this event, and she went straight to the airport to pick me up. And I was like, hey, I text her right when we got landed and everything. Hey, just landed. She's like, yeah, we just saw you. So I was like, okay, they're out there. And I'm like the second person off the plane, and I walk out the front doors, and she's just putting my son on the ground, like taking him out of his car seat, right? Like I can see her turn, boom, put him on the ground. And when I see him in the morning, our thing is first time I see him, I go, what in the world? And then he goes, what in the world?
Oh, that's cool.
And then, or like when I get home at work, I'll crouch down and I'll like kind of walk,
creep up on him.
And so that's what I did. I kind of started creeping up on him. I crouched down, start creeping, and he hasn't seen me yet. And so he turns around finally and sees me. And dude, it's like, he just sprints, man. He's like, his little voice, dude, it just fills you. But
fills your cup.
He's like, he says, my daddy, my daddy, my daddy, and runs out. And I'm just like, this is it, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
you just crop that right there as a Pampers commercial. Just put on the bottom, you have kids.
As stressed as I am about everything moving forward, they don't
know. Yeah. Oh, dude, my kids, he went to the little pool. Somebody brought like an inflatable orca. They're like, we're out of here. We're not going to use it anymore. They hand it to him. He's like, I got this. What is this? inflatable whale. I'm like, yeah, free willy, buddy. It's core memory. Hit that thing, knock it out of the park, dude.
This is going to be the cool
Go try to drown that thing. Yeah, go try to drown. Exactly. Go try to drown Shamu, dude. We're having ice cream tonight. You can count on it. So, no, I understand, man. That's cool that you get those opportunities and you take them. And yeah, kids. I mean, that we're preaching to the choir, though. I think on that, anybody that has children realizes what it is.
Sure, but people that were in my shoes that were like, I don't even know if I want to do this.
Yeah,
like maybe just. If someone would have told me that, I'd have been like, cool, man, that's your life.
Yeah,
that
cool.
Ain't mine.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, but also it sucks a lot and it's great a lot. And it's just like anything.
Hardest thing I've ever done.
Anything in life that's of value is hard to get.
It's a good point, dude. There, you're wrapping it back up to putting yourself into discomfort.
Yeah, that's exactly what parenthood is.
Exactly.
It's got a lot of value, but man, it is not easy. So,
dude, my biggest thing I'm taking from this is core memories, dude.
Yeah, get them.
I love that, dude.
My buddy just said that the other day, and I was like, oh man, that's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking just starting. It's like everyone says this, and I've mentioned on here a number of times. Man, an hour? What are we going to talk about for an hour? Dude, we're an hour and 10 minutes
I'm a chatty Cathy. No, we're good, man. It was fun. I appreciate you having me on.
No, dude, so people that have been on the podcast know this. I write notes down while we're first talking, get some ideas. It's two things. It's warm me up, get used to the mic, get ideas, and like people, like I hadn't met you until I walked into the room, right? So it kind of warms us up to each other. I wrote down about 8 things. We didn't touch one. So those are my, but it's also like you had nothing to promote, right? Like,
I'm not that guy. No, I'm not a shameless promoter. I don't think I'm necessarily unique or special, but to my mom, my wife, and my kids, but I do have some things that I've learned, over failing, approaching a master's degree and getting right at the end and bailing, and then not doing a career path and starting other businesses and this and struggling through the pandemic. And there's a lot of failure. And like when I listen to Gary Vee and he talks about how he just ate, pardon my French, but he's like, I ate shit forever at the car dealership until I knew when I was going to go on the offense. And then he started buying up stock, started making a couple investments, and he started to go on the offense. But I think he was doing the wine stuff and then a car dealer thing. And I feel like it's kind of that Talladega Nights thing when you're just sitting in the back and you're gonna get ready to shake and bake, baby. Like it's coming, And sometimes you do need to be strategic, But right now, the world needs good, honest, genuine, hardworking savages, and we have so many opportunities in this wonderful country. If you just take that first step. You start a podcast one day, you do content one day, you start a thing one day, you maybe start researching a business idea that you had, and you have to start somewhere. But if you do, you just don't know where that'll take you, one foot in front of the other.
Love it, dude. Dude, seriously, thanks for coming on. Thanks for it's like you're on vacation right now, dude. So thanks for people listening. He doesn't even live here.
I know.
He just happened to be here.
Yeah.
And saw one of our posts about trying to sign up some new guests, and he's like, I'm actually here right now. So we got him on.
Yeah, cool.
Eric, dude, seriously, thanks.
I appreciate you.
Thanks,
awesome.
Eric's
Thanks
family for letting him kind of notch this time out for us. Dude, anything else?
No, it's a pleasure. No, for you,
I
I think that more people need to realize that your core goal with all of this is good. So don't share it for my sake. If you know people that are maybe struggling with some stuff or going through some things, or maybe just want to talk about their perspective, or, the last time I was in St. George, really, I think was when I went to jail at the Hurricane facility. Well, that was a long time ago, dude. I got a really good
episode
inmate
number
card.
2.
No, dude, that thing. I looked like I was part of a gang. I looked like a skinhead. It was hilarious. But I think there are people that just don't have that hope, and we're so fortunate and blessed to have so much hope. I mean, our problems are minuscule. So by you continue to put out something like this, you just don't know the impact it's going to have on somebody's life. Maybe it's that nudge to start that rolling rock for them. So I don't have anything else to add. Like I said, I'm not on social media. I mean, I would, even if it was on Instagram, I don't think I've posted anything in 3 years. Facebook, same thing. I'm just creeping around. But blessed are the people like you that are putting that kind of stuff out there, so others like us can kind of consume it and be uplifted.
Appreciate that. I really do. Like I said, dude, there's some days where it's hard to get here, and but trying to stay that consistent and that promise I kind of made to myself, and Mallory made to herself, and I've made to Mallory, and she's made to me. And, you know, I mean, Mallory's killing it now. They're working their way up to 12 podcasts. And, you know, to think it was because I bet on her and she bet on me one day that we were actually going to follow through is cool.
Yeah, but you got to start somewhere, and there's a reason that she's going to grow, and there's a reason you're going to grow. You got to just stay after it, you know. It's great stuff. Exactly.
I don't know what you name this one. Mallory's going to struggle with that, dude.
No, I don't know anything.
No. You got to start somewhere, or core memories. I don't know. Yeah. We'll have to see what she names it.
We'll see what Chat GPT has.
Oh yeah, throw it at the AI. Exactly. Hey, and just for the record, AI, like
you
I'm all on board.
Think I'm going to take more time? Heck no. No, I'm just kidding. I'll think of some.
So no, thanks for having me.
All right, man. All right, guys. Episode 94. Go like, share. This is one of those. You know, this is the conversation that I thought we would have when I started a podcast. So I love all of them. I'm not putting anyone else down, but I mean, this is as genuine as it gets. I've had some buddies on here. I've had some strangers on here, and we've just chatted back and forth. And that's the core of what the Derick Erik podcast is. So if you've enjoyed this, please share, like, comment, interact with us, and we'll let Erik get back to his family. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.